All right, we're live. Okay, let's give everybody a few minutes to find the new link. I apologize, those of you who have found it. Right now, let's just give everybody a couple minutes to find it. I don't know what happened. I hit the go live button and it's just, doing the endless circle thing as it's waiting. And so I'm there just waiting for it to go live. It never did. And then I refreshed the page and the video was gone. I'm sorry. So we've got a signal now. We've got a stream. That's good. Susan says, yay. And so I see that we're connected. All right. How's the audio? Can somebody let me know if the audio is sufficient? This is the first time using a different mic. And so I want to make sure that it's good. Oscar J says, hey, here and waiting. Susan was there early. All right. Recipex. Oh, wow. I get to see a live video. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Yeah, we're going to do it live. Okay, we got a lot of stuff streaming in. Okay, good. Audio is great. Thank you, lady. All the comments are going. Lady Bainhart, thank you for that. And all of you who are streaming in at the moment. Okay. So I've got my paint ready, and I want to show you the area. I've made some adjustments thanks to all of your very good feedback. And so bigger canvas. And what I'm going to do with this, actually, while we're waiting for people to stream in, I want to show you something that might be handy to know. I just clipped this on with these little, what do you call these, little grippy clips from the hardware store so that I can just pull this off when I'm done and store it without having to store a big permanently stretched canvas. I might do a lot of these and I don't have a lot of space to store them. And I've already got piles of undisplayed paintings. So what I'm going to do real quick is just sand off. This is a drop cloth. So I'm just going to sand off all the little knots. It just takes a few seconds. I think that's probably extremely loud in the microphone. Sorry about that. Block the microphone. Okay. And this isn't completely necessary, but it's nice. Gives me a smoother surface. This is after 2 coats of just scrap paint. I don't typically bother with purchasing official gesso. And that's just because I come from a paint contracting background. Paints and primers seem to do an excellent job of sealing the canvas. So I just use them because they're more cost effective and readily available. Okay, that's good. I'm going to stop doing that now. And you know what else I'm going to do? It's going to be easier for me to, well, this is pretty easy to just look over here at comments. I guess I don't need to over technologize myself. So we'll just put that phone on quiet. Still got lots of people joining in. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit record on a backup camera. Hopefully I'll get some great video out of that one. That one's a lot better for HD footage. Hopefully I'll be able to edit that recording and have a higher definition recording available when this is done. So give me a moment while we're waiting for other people to find that new link. Man, I'm so bummed that happened. Just a moment. I'm going to hit record on this. Done. So what I'm going to do is break this project down into parts. I know that a lot of you maybe didn't get the memo that I'm going to redo the same concept that we did in the last live show because I just felt like it could be done so much better for the recording, for those that want to tune in and watch this in the future. This was 2 days ago what was painted live, and so you can see the size difference. I want to cover a lot more of our field of view on the camera. Hopefully that's going to allow you to see a lot better technique and detail as I'm working. And I noticed that there were a lot of exposure issues on the footage. And it's important to me that you can really see what's going on with as little change as possible. That's why I'm wearing this strategically light gray shirt, strategically chosen color, because when I go on and off the frame, it doesn't auto adjust the exposure too much. So I'm trying to manage all of those technical problems, but I think that it's going to pay off in the end for a better quality video for you all too. So here's my paints, and I'm going to show those to you down here. And I would like to get those on camera. I boosted them up as high as I could. They still didn't make it onto the frame, so I'll just give you a quick rundown of what they are. These are from Sherwin-Williams. Most of them are from Sherwin-Williams just because that's a good store that I like to go to in Flagstaff where I live. But like I say in many other videos, I'm not sponsored by any paint company, and I don't recommend one over the other as being superior. I just know that I've had really good results with these. They have pre-colored bases for the red and yellow, and so I especially like that. So here's a good label to look at. This is the yellow that I'm using, and this is their more expensive paint. But as I've said in other videos, it's a lot cheaper than buying tubes because of how much paint is in that quart. It's tinted. You know, maybe they use like a powdered pigment. I don't know. I'm not such an expert on how that's done, but because it's not loaded up with excuse man, this is why editing is so nice. But look, I came prepared. With a glass of water. Give me a moment. So they don't put as much liquid pigment in those factory tinted bases, just so you know the reason for my choice in case you can strategize your own color choices. So these come pre-pigmented with this color, and it seems to cover better and be more concentrated because of that. And so I use the red and yellow right off the shelf. They're not adjusted. And that would be bright yellow. Let's make sure that I've got the name right for those. Yeah, bright yellow and real red. Real red is the red that I use. And I've been using those for a long time. And I'm taking time to show you this because it's changed since here, there you go. You can see the label on this. It says real red right there near my pinky. And these things have changed a little bit since the first videos I put out about the paint. Those paints are still great, but they've updated their products. Here is magenta, one of my favorite colors to work with. Here's blue. These are in their cheaper sample quarts, but I loaded them up with that expensive paint. When it comes to the dark blue, they just have one blue pigment in most paint stores. I can see that just looks like a black hole there. Hey, we're going to be painting galaxy scene, and I just said black hole. What does it mean? And so ultra deep base with the max amount of blue pigment and nothing more. You have to ask for them to do a manual formula for that. Here's maroon. That's also is just a pigment. So you can see what I do is I go through the pigments that I like, and I say, can I have just that pigment in a base? I don't get pre-mixed colors. This is my black. It's like an industrial high gloss black. High gloss can look weird if it covers a lot of your painting, but usually I don't use that much black, and it makes a really nice dark black with the high gloss. This is high reflective white. That's the official name, and there's a little bit of water on top, so I'm swirling it together. And so that's all my colors: red, green, phthalo green. But you know, you just have to ask for their deepest green, deepest blue, because I don't think they call them phthalo green, phthalo blue. That's what they are. Okay, now let's get started. Here's my yellow. Oh yeah, that's what I was looking for. I always keep a towel handy, and I'm going to be using that pretty constantly. Every time you see me go down here off the camera, I'll be rinsing my brush. I've got a bucket of water over here. Oh, you can see it. It's on the camera. Here's my bucket of water. I'll rinse over here, and then I'll always dry my brush off. So all those moments that you see my hands go down off the camera, it's probably doing this. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to rinse. Then I'm going to come over here and dry, and then go to a new color. So Let me go to a color right now. I'm thinking white. White is a great color to start out with. Okay, we're going to make a galaxy. And I'm going to try something a little bit different on this one. I was looking before I started at galaxy scenes. And this is my normal workflow. Is I'll look at all of the pictures that I can on like a Google image search. I was doing that minutes before this started. Maybe that's why I failed on the previous live stream link, because I was distracted looking at all of the images, getting inspiration for what kind of patterns I want to put in my picture. And so I was looking at those and thinking, hey, I should try some layering. You can get more vivid colors. And I get asked a lot about glazing. So another word for just layering paint over paint, glazing. Maybe a lot of you would call it that. I'm going to try some just for this part of the painting. And so first, this is the way I like to paint fire too. It's been a long time since I painted fire. But this is the same way. When I want vivid colors that really look like light coming out of darkness, this is the way to get the most vivid results. And so I'm going to do some white blobs on the canvas, and then I'm going to do some black blobs. I'm just going to do values first. And I don't typically paint this way I don't paint this way for other kinds of content. You know, I don't put together a landscape with values first. I know a lot of people use that technique. And that's not my usual technique, but for this, I find it to deliver real good results. But I do need it to dry fast. So if you did this with oil base, then you'd be stuck waiting before you can layer over it, because you need the base layer to dry before you can put the top layers over it that add all of the color. All right, so now I'm going to put black, and I just switched brushes. By the way, the brushes I'm using are Purdy, just contractor brushes. If you go into a paint store or a hardware store and get a brush that looks like this, this is the kind of work it's made for. Nice straight lines like this. That's what it's made for. And I don't think it was ever intended to do art, but I find them to be very useful, and they really put lots of paint on the canvas fast with this water-based paint. So I switched brushes because I want to preserve a bright white brush. And so then it's just less rinsing, just a more efficient workflow. So what I'm going to do is, did I use the right brush? Oh, yeah. I thought I just said that and then grabbed the white brush. I do that kind of stuff all the time. So I'm putting black where I have empty spots. And I'm glad that we're going with a bigger canvas now. I'm sorry for those of you that were really looking forward to the completion of last week's work. I am going to do a very similar scene when we get there. But I'm glad we're going with this bigger one, because it's going to allow me to do techniques where the paint's going to dry faster being spread out on this big surface, and be easier to see what's going on too. So apply and then spread and blend. So that's why I'm putting all these blobs of paint all over this, because it stays wet so that I can come back and blend it and give myself more time to work in the meantime. So if I start blending as soon as I apply, and I know this has happened to millions of people, you are trying to get some nice color gradients, you go to the canvas and you immediately start blending them together. And before you can get very far, it's drying and getting real thick on you. So I found that this workflow of just putting these blobs of paint on and then going to blend it, I just looked at the video screen. It does not look like a galaxy yet, but this is going to be fun. It's going to turn into one. So I've got nice thick paint. Now it's time to blend it. So what I'm going to do is look for my edges. So where I have a edge between black and white, that's where I'm going to concentrate my brush strokes. I don't need to get crazy with swiping across the middle of every blob of color that's on there. I'm just going to stay with the edges. And I can see right away that I might want some more white, but we'll see. Let me get a little bit further and see how it goes. So it's okay for my dark brush to hit the white. Now that I've spread it out, I'm going to start hitting the white and just blend this out. It's going to be fun to see how this works out, having it stretched in this way. I took a drop cloth, I cut it, I steamed it. I've got like an industrial steamer. Steamed it to get the wrinkles out. Use a trowel blade to, and you can see me doing that process if you look at how to stretch your own canvas on my channel. So I feel like I'm a little bit low on white now that I put it on. So I'm not going to use my white brush to put it on. I'm saving that for my brightest white. I'm going to use my black brush. And as long as that brush is not excessive, look, there's no black swirled into that white. So it's okay to not rinse your brush between all of your colors. This room is probably 65 degrees right now. It's not real warm. For those of you that are in Celsius, I don't know what that converts to, but 65 Fahrenheit. And so it's pretty cool. And that allows me to have more work time as well. So that's not as great when you want the paint to dry fast, but cooler temperatures are really helpful when you're trying to give yourself more time to blend paint. All right, let's get some more black and some of these empty spots. I've got a few areas where it's kind of skipping, where the paint is not thick enough to cover it all yet. So I'm just going to choose black or white, get one or the other. And let's use the same brush. Put some white over in here. It's kind of thin in that area. And maybe I'll put some white in here. Okay. It's looking pretty good. So a lot of the time when I'm painting, I'm just scanning the canvas for brush strokes and the criteria that I'm looking for. A lot of the time, I'm not thinking make it look more like what I'm trying to paint, because I've already put in the time developing a technique for that, and I intend to rely on the technique and not manually at every moment trying to form what I want it to look like, but relying on a technique to do it for me. At least it relieves the workload on my brain of trying to manually form it. And so I'm scanning the canvas, looking for any unblended edges. I'm looking for those spots that are in between white and black. That's what I'm looking for, because that's where my brush strokes are really going to count the most. And I'm real efficient. You know, it can feel overwhelming to cover a whole canvas. But if you just think about a brush stroke as a pixel and going left to right, top to bottom, it wouldn't take long to dot, 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 if you could be sure that every stroke counted. So I'm always trying to work toward making every stroke count. Okay. Now, this is going to be a little bit Bob Rossi here. I'm gonna dry out my brush. I dunked it in water, so now it's kind of moist, but then I swirled it like I'm trying to make a fire with a stick, you know, to get excess water out. But the moisture on the bristles helps this technique a little bit. And then while this paint is half dry, it's about halfway dry right now. It's kind of tacky. And I'm just going to go like this, unload the excess. This brush is not a purdy, and so it's a little more streaky. These bristles, they don't have quite as soft and smooth of tips on it. Still a good brush. This is a Wooster, but sorry, Wooster, it's not as good as purdy. Okay, I'm going to go like this, softly over these. And I'm going to get these just a lot softer looking real quick just by using a big brush. Now that, since it's not working great, I'm going to switch to this one, a little smaller brush. This is a purdy. This is like a commercial now. Now let's compare that to what Purdy can do. No, I don't intend for it to be like that, but really, the way they taper the bristles is better. So we'll see less streaks in the result by using this Purdy that has a little bit finer flare to the ends of the bristles. They split the ends of the bristles on a brush in order to get a soft layoff when you're doing this. Oh, I kind of like that pull texture in there. Okay, then I'll go over here, do some of this. Same thing in here. All right, just different directions, real quick, real light, and you get this nice, soft, cloudy blend to that look. Let's see what everybody's saying for a moment. I'm going to take a quick look at the comments while that's starting to dry up a little bit. Heavy body paint will dry faster than soft bodied, says Chrissy Canvas Art. Okay, thanks for that tip. No, I didn't think of that. You got a pretty brush, boy. Banjo music, you got a pretty brush, boy. Yeah, it's drop cloth. Yeah, I'm reading the comment coming in. Does anyone know how Joe has that up on the wall? Okay, I just so happened to be pulling the siding off the outside of my house. I looked at the boards that they nailed the vinyl siding onto, and I thought, hey, I could use these to build a canvas bar set on my wall. So I used concrete nails to go right into the brick. You can see brick here. And so this is anchored with 2 concrete nails on each side. And then I did cross boards. There's 6 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I've got each of these clips clamping one of those cross boards. Then I just did thin plywood, 1, 2, 3 boards, screwed it all together, and stretched the canvas over it, which is drop cloth. And that's why at the beginning, yeah, so those of you who are tuning in more recently, I cut a piece out of the drop cloth. And you can see how my video on my channel, how to stretch your own canvas, to see me doing that, to see the whole process. I think that I've got that one on a video. And then I put 2 coats. I put 1 coat of paint on it last night, went to bed, let it dry, came back, sanded it, applied another coat this morning, sanded it again right at the beginning of this video. And that was all to get the, there's a lot of lint and knots in the drop cloths. This is the value of buying nice canvas, is that you don't have to do nearly as much of that prep work to get a smoother surface. But I kind of enjoy it. And I always like working with cheap materials. It's so much cheaper to use drop cloth than buying stuff that's, like, I don't know, it's $30 a yard or something. And so for $30, you get a big old 15 by 15 foot square of this at the paint store. And so I like to do that. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is start making some little stars on here. I'm not going to put color yet because it's not ready. And so here's how I'm going to make the stars. I need a brush for flicking. And what I did was I pre-mixed this. This is the white paint, same white that I'm using, plus some water. And you have to experiment with just how runny to make this. So what I'm going to do is find a brush. Yeah, I can probably just use the same one. This is going to be good for flicking because I can go like this. And I'm going to point it right at the canvas. And I like to pull my hands back against the long bristles. And then it's just like using a toothbrush to flick water, for those of us that are ornery enough to do that to people. You just pull like this after you get that watery paint in there. And I want to show you how watery this is. Do you see it kind of rocking back and forth in the container? It's very runny, but if I go too runny or if I flick it too much, obviously it's going to drip. So I'm thinking about the size. No, I want to show you it. It's just soaking right. It's runny enough that it's soaking right into those bristles. So for that reason, I'm not going to get any big blobs hitting the canvas because this is soaking it up. And so you just have to find the right consistency. You just experiment. So this is a fun thing that I discovered when I did that big colorful galaxy scene a few years back that is hanging in my friend Todd's office, is that all of the imperfections start to disappear when you start flicking dots all over. So little tiny brush strokes, all little edges that don't look like smoothly blended galactic clouds, those start to disappear as this gets more and more covered with little dots. So I kind of push this that way to get more splatters on it. And if I want less, I'll just stand back a distance. So you just experiment in order to get the results you're after. So now it's getting a little more saturated. You can see the end of the brush there, a little more saturated. So I'm in danger of getting big blobs that'll drip. And if that happens, I'll just paint something over it, no big deal. But just so you know that you can look for that. So when I get real close, the more I jam my fingers against the bristles, boom, 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 like this, the harder they flick straight out. So I'm going to point it like a gun, pull straight back on those, and I can really get some real good splatters of many tiny stars rather than a few big ones that I get more from a distance. Let's go like this. Let's do kind of oh, I don't like that. That wasn't good. I flicked them. I guess it's a little comet. I don't want too many of those. I was trying to get like a line that traveled this way. If I just keep going this way, the flick pattern, it does follow the shape of the brush. It's longer this way, so the flick pattern ends up. So it's like using a sprayer. You've got a long direction and a short direction. And so I'm going to get this long direction if I go this way, and then I'll get an up and down shape if I go this way. I'm going to do a few more. I'm going to do a couple layers of this. So I'm going to scoot over to this side now. I'm going to go off camera a little bit and hit this side some more. All right, cool. So now I'm wondering if I see a few streaky spots that didn't quite smooth out. So what I'm going to do is, wherever I can always flick more splatters on here, but I'm going to see if I can get some of my more streaky spots. Because I know that I'm just going to layer more stuff on here. I'm not too worried about losing some of my stars as I blend this out, but I just noticed some spots kind of right in the middle. Hopefully if you do this, you don't get to this point where you're adjusting. This is high probability of ruining something if you start doing this. Or doing something, ruining as in doing something to your picture that you don't want to. Let's go like that, add a little more there. Yeah, all right, cool. Just some of my most streaky spots that were standing out to me from a distance. I'm not going to go crazy with that. Yeah, that looks a lot smoother to me. Now I'm going to do some more of those splatters. Go like this. Oops, wrong brush. I wonder what would happen if I did it with a brush that already has a lot of paint in it. And not much. All right, let's do this. Get more of this. Ooh, look at that. That's from a distance. Now, when I get a real big one, I got to watch those. They're going to drip in a minute. Good thing the wall is white behind this picture. It's for sure getting a little bit of this splatter. Yeah, there we go. It's getting all over me. There now. when I do a layer of color, these are going to end up being colored stars. And here's what I'm going to do for those big drops is just do one quick little dab with the towel just to get the excess off. That's all I need to do, you know, and I can always adjust shapes, little tiny details later, but just to keep it from dripping, I'll just quickly do a little dab over it. Okay, so now I'm going to rinse off my hand real quick. Get that white off of there. I'm pretty sure I've got a few little white splatters on my face and glasses. Right there, okay. Let's check the dryness. That still needs a little bit of time to tack up. So you know what I'm going to do is put a fan on it for a little bit. Well, no, that's going to be loud and annoying. If I don't get to add in the color, I'll do it in another. I'll just move on to another part of this picture while we're waiting on that. So I think what I'll do is start putting some clouds on the edge of this. So then it'll buy me some time. I can start layering colors over that after that's had time to dry while I'm painting something else. So I'm thinking that I want to do those same kind of clouds that I did before, but now we can get a bigger example of them going. And so I'm going to come over here to the left side and make this some big towering thunderhead looking clouds. And so let's use a bigger brush, get it done faster. It's always fun to work with a big brush. Okay. I'm going to start with white because I know that I want a big bright cloud in comparison. And then I'm going to put some red in it because I know that I want it to be kind of a pink cloud, but it looks really pink. It looks unnatural, not for clouds pink if I put magenta. For me, this is pink enough. It's just the feel, you know, it's just the feel that you're going for. There's nothing wrong with making a big magenta cloud. This is the look that I'm after here. So the first thing I do when I'm making a cloud is kind of build the edge. And so I'm thinking we're going to put a cloud here, and let's put kind of another cloud overhanging across this dark area. That's a good spot for some contrast, some nice contrast, a cloud coming out in front of this. I actually like the way the black kind of mixed with that a little bit, make it a little more of a shadowed cloud. And I'm just going to blend that into this color. I'm going to put a little more of that red in there. And to make the little puffs of the clouds, I'm going to put a little water on my brush here, just so that the paint will thin out a little bit when I hit this canvas, and to get me some smaller shapes. So you can build smaller details with paint that's a little more thinned out. And I just keep hitting the canvas with the brush at this direction. You know, it's just straight up and down. I'm using that longest point and kind of smashing it against the other bristles to get more roundish little shapes rather than shapes that are longer and harder to control. So I can pinpoint where I put the details a little bit better if I go in here and just use the point of the brush. Also, being generous with the paint helps a lot with shape control. So if I want edges that are really, really sharp, more exact, look how I can make sharper edges on this cloud by just having thicker paint on the brush. Light touch, plenty of paint equals a sharper edge. So when you get real careful as a painter, that's when you start losing the ability, you know, to have those sharp edges. Careful, maybe I said that wrong, real careful, and being too stingy with the paint. You know, you just put tiny bits of paint on, you're just carefully wisping layers over. It's drying fast, you can't get the sharp edges. So just a tip for getting better control on the edges. Okay, we got this big towering cloud, and maybe I'll kind of like it like that. I'm going to put a little more black in there as well, just because it seems like it'll look good if I divide this little section in here. So a fun thing to do when you're building shapes is to build it from the negative space as well as from the positive space. Something that I practice a lot more now than I did when I was first starting out in my paint career. As I would always think about building the object that is in question, that I'm thinking of. But I learned that there are real distinct patterns to the space in between things just as much, and so I found it really helpful to work on negative space just as much as the positive space. Okay. Always felt like that'd be a good name for a artist chat room, because artists can get so emotional and down, you call it negative space. Of course, you'd have to have positive space too. If you didn't. One doesn't exist without the other. Okay, now to make this look like it's glowing, what I need to do is put yellow in here. So we're going to make this glow from the middle. So I'm going to shift the hue toward yellow. And I talk about this a lot in videos. This rule of shifting hues. There's this really distinct pattern. When light shines through something, then it goes toward yellow. And so it depends. It starts from purple, and then, so if you imagine a rainbow starting from purple, and one side of the purple going purple, red, orange, yellow, the other side of the purple going purple, blue, green, yellow. It depends if that purple, and I did this, by the way, any of you join in from down in Rio Rico, I saw that a lot of you were on the last live stream, and I love that. Thanks for tuning in. I had such an awesome time visiting the middle schools down there. And so my point is, we observed that in the classroom. So one violet is a little more red, one violet is a little more blue. So the one that's a little more blue shifts toward yellow, toward blue, green, yellow. And then the other blue, actually, the other violet turned red as light came through it. So it went to the red, orange, yellow. So in this one, it's very clear which side of the purple it's on. It's on the red side. So we're going to shift toward yellow by just adding yellow. Blend that in and maybe add a little bit of white because it also needs to be brighter. And so you can see it already very quickly creates a glow effect, but it's just missing some details. So what I'm going to do is get my effect in there. I'm going to have plenty of paint on it. Let's put a little more yellow. Yeah, maybe like that. And the thing about the paint is it does get darker as it dries. So I'm always trying to adjust for that. So I'm going to go a tiny bit lighter, more yellow, more white. And then I'll come back and add red after I do that to the edges. And we'll shift it back toward red to do the shadows that wrap around the outer edges of the cloud and go backward. So we go in here, do this. Now I'm ready to put some shadows. And so I'll just get some paint. Now, I used to be a lot more careful. If you watch earlier videos, you'll see me demonstrating a technique that goes like this. I maintain the lighter color with most of the brush, put my darker color on the tip of the brush. I'm no longer saying do it this way. It worked good, but I've really loosened up my technique because dabbing like this, getting your details, is just a bit of a very detailed, painstaking process. And I ended up getting a lot of feedback, a lot of emails saying, how do you do that? And realized, you know what, this is just hard. So I'm turning my brush around and, you know, the color just disappears as you swipe into the light. And if you don't overmix, then I find it easier just to put dabs of that darker color on and swipe into the light this way with that same brush direction that I did before. And then I'm going to come in here and blend out these inside edges of my brush strokes so that I've got a sharp edge on this side toward the outer edge of the cloud. I've got a soft edge on that side, and this gives me my wraparound effect. So I'm going to see if I can just barely do it. I want them to be really stacked close together around the edges of my cloud. So I'm going to go in here and put little edges all around here, because the tighter they are on the edge, it's just like landscape perspective. The tighter I put these edges around, what am I trying to say? The closer together I put these little strokes around the edge of the cloud, the more it causes that cloud to look like it's wrapping around. So we're going to go in here, do a few more. And remember what I said about negative space. I can do that with this too. I can grab this lighter color, turn the brush around, and get some little bits of the light color coming the other way. So now I'm making the light in between my little puffs of the cloud, like this. And I can just keep going back and forth that way. And if it dries, I know this is always a struggle, is drying paint. If it dries, I can reapply. Do that same process again. So here I'm going to blend out these left side edges and leave the right side edges sharp so that it really looks like the edge of a cloud wrapping around away from my view. Put some lighter color in here, go like this. It's amazing the level of detail that we can see in edges. Shape, line recognition always just fascinates me. I'm just so fascinated by it. We detect lines. If some of these dots get close enough together, suddenly you see line. We're just programmed to do it. Like your eyes, they lock on a target. You can't not do it. Auto locking, whatever it is. And so you turn your head, your eyes lock, you find lines. I love those mechanics that are just built into us all. And so I can trust that to really work to my advantage when I come in here and do tiny little details that maybe seem very close in color value. I didn't mean for the black to get in there, but if I go in here and do a few little spots, it's like, oh, who's going to see that? But it does get seen because of where it is and how it replicates the edges of clouds that we're used to. Those tiny little details, if they're well placed, they really pay off. So I put a few in. Now we'll move on to some bigger edges as we move more toward the middle of our big cloud. So we start making some bigger ones. Let's go like this. Maybe I'll look for edges that already exist and enhance them a little bit. Wherever I see some little edges showing up on my picture. Go like this, bring some over here. And I don't want this pure red. That's too intense. I'm just leaving it there so that I can borrow some of it as I move around and work this shape a little bit. Here's a fun thing to do is think of it on a big scale as well as on a small scale. So I've got 3 real big puffs here, and I'm not going to turn those into one continuous line. I'm going to leave them separate because it gives my cloud a more complex shape that feels more organic to me. I like the look of it. So all I'm doing is looking for edges that I can blend toward the light. And if the paint gets dry enough, which I don't think it is yet, I can do that same trick where I light. Oh, that worked pretty good. Let's try it. Maybe just one little pull across. I can use that technique too to get real rapid blending of many edges. Easy to go too far on that one though. Okay, I'll put more red in here, and I'm going to kind of separate these 2 clouds a little bit. So I see this is where my imagination is starting to, I don't have it pre-planned, but stuff's starting to stick out to me. So I'm going to put a little valley in there. And because the cloud wraps away from my eyes wherever I put that red, I can create a valley by bringing those two edges next to each other like this. And then it's a valley that's made with light rather than shadow. Let's put an extra little couple bumps in there like this. Here we go. Yeah, I'm liking the look of that. Let's make a few more in here. Go this way. I'm having fun with this cloud. You know, when I get painting clouds, I lose my perception of time. So maybe some of you are thinking, Joe, move on from the clouds. I don't know. Let's see. I'm going to take a moment and check out some comments. It's kind of fun seeing that big splashy color against the non-color, isn't it? Contrast is just such a great thing in a painting. Kim Hollowell agrees. Boy, is that ever true, Joe? That was a little bit ago. I'm a subscriber from France, says Sherpa. You're a great guy. God bless you and your family. Hey, thank you very much. We need all the blessing we can get these days. We're all hiding out at home. YouTube is a treasure. I agree, man. Changed my life for sure. You know, someone reminded me YouTube only started back in 2005. Now, for me, that seems recent. Those of you who are younger, it's like, well, yeah, that was a long time ago. Okay, let's put a few of these in here. Let's check the dryness we've got here. Pretty good, pretty good. I'm going to wait a little bit longer so that I can. Some of these spots are real dry. Some are still a little tacky, so just need a little more time. The next step, I'm going to layer color over that. It's going to be real fun. It's going to be good. So I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to blend these clouds, and I'm going to come in from the other side now. So let me scoot over here. Let's go up like this. Again, I'm on the edges, so I'm going to go a lot more red. I'm going to kind of make I like the swooping diagonal direction. Like that, I'm going to use lots of red in here. And just gradually blend that into this lighter color. And just like I did in that other one, sometimes it comes out better like this. Okay. I feel like that edge looks just as interesting as this that I spent so much time on. So it doesn't always pay off to try to micromanage the details. Sometimes the paint just does cool things. Like Bob Ross, you know, coined the happy accident. But most of my accidents aren't happy. Okay. Let's go like this. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. I know. Watching somebody do something, making it look easy, it's bittersweet. It's fun to watch, but frustrating when you're trying to accomplish it. That's how I feel with skateboarding tricks. My son passed me up. I can do a little bit on a skateboard. It's good to try to do stuff for me. You know, I'm always trying to get better at something. This, for me, the thrill of life is in what can I do with my hands and feet to show off for people. Try to get people to say, cool, how'd you do that? I don't know. It's just a thrill in life that I can't deny that I'm after all the time. But I took up skateboarding, taught it to my son, and a couple years ago, he really passed me up. I mean, he's way beyond my ability now, dropping into vertical walls in the skate park, doing stuff that I am terrified by. And so he can do all these flip tricks. And I look at it, I try it. It looks so easy, one quick little flip of the foot. I try to do it exactly mechanically the way people say it, and it just doesn't happen. And then, you know, you've got someone like my son who's real good, just like this, you know, just like this, doing it 10 times in a row, just like this. Okay, like this, like this. Keep doing it. And every time it just rubs it in. Yes, I see that you can do it. So I'm sorry if I'm that guy. when it comes to painting clouds, water, you know. But for anybody interested in the history, I greatly struggled at the beginning. I did have my time of struggling, and I just really took to research, really had a passion for the research and finding the answers. Okay, I'm going to put more edges here. So I like how this looks a little more nebulous. I'm going to put another edge to this cloud coming down to here, like this. Put another one here, come right across here. I think we need a different color cloud in here too. I'm going to do just like I did down at the school. I did a real quick basic concept in the classroom down at Quadamundi Middle School. And so you can see that video that I just uploaded a week ago of my visit to the middle schools down in Rio Rico. Very fun, loved it. And so, what was I saying? I did a version of this same picture in the classroom there. It was real fun. Simple. It was the simple version. Okay, that's dry, and that's going to need another coat of paint when I get to it. The black kind of picked up when I hit it, so I'll stay off of that for now. Besides, the colors look kind of interesting. It's good fuel for imagination. And in here, I'm going to go a little bit darker gray or shadow. I just feel like that's going to look good. So I do like that light right there. I like that light. So maybe let's just try some up in here. So red, white, and black is a real fun color to do a gray violet. Real fun. What's the right way to say that? I feel like I just said that wrong. Quick way to make a gray violet that works really well in landscape or painting natural looking things. You know, it doesn't go too purple. It stays on the real muted side. And so just remembering that mix, if I want a real gray violet to kind of wrap around and look more like a shadow, then I can add some more interesting shadows into my picture that way. So I'm going to put a little bit of that color over in here, just kind of near the underside. I don't know where the light's coming from right now. I just know I want to see something that looks pretty. You know, sometimes that's all it comes down to. Let's put a little bit of that on here. We're just muting some of the edges of this with that grayer color to give it a little more depth, make that more colorful part that much more lit up. You know, it causes the rest to illuminate by putting some shadow in there. I'm gonna do some down here too. Let's take some red and some black. Blue can work too. You know, you put blue, but blue is kind of like opposite extreme correction. So it's a more sensitive way to mix a color. I can get to a very similar result with using less blue, but it so very quickly turns to violet, where the black and white is a little easier for me to gradually control just how violet I make it. Okay, I'm just adding some more of this color, some of these edges, get a little bit of shadow in here. Somebody said on the last one, I think it was Mario, you should patent those sounds. I don't know how you patent sounds. I love sound effects. To me, sounds and lines and shape they go together, you know. Lines and movement and sound. That's why it is, because I associate movement with sound with movement. And lines I also associate with movement. But when I make lines that I like, it's always a whoosh, something like that. Up here, I think I want to see some blue. I think that'll look pretty. So here's my white brush. I better dunk that in water. And then maybe I'll use my black brush. This is the brush that I use to do all of that. I'll use that to put some blue right up in here because orange and blue are such striking combos. I just love the way it looks. So I'm just going to put it in here because I love it. I'll worry about how to tie it all together after I get it on there. Little bit of white. If you put a little bit of white in a primary color, it can really pop it out, make it vivid, make it bright. But if you put a lot of white, it's the same as adding a gray, I guess. White is what you might call colorless. It has all the colors. Anyway, it starts removing color. It looks real washed out when you add lots of white. So I'm just going to add a little bit so that blue really stands out. Bring it down here onto the edges of these clouds. See, I'm painting the negative space in between the little puffy shapes on the clouds now with this blue. Come down here, make some divides in between. Sometimes, I'm sure many of you have experienced it to be true. Sometimes a little is better than a lot, Sometimes less is more, the old saying. Less is more. So when I see something I like, my immediate reaction is, I need to do that everywhere. And then it's no longer an accent. Yeah, let's do this. This will be fun. Let's put a little cloud behind the cloud. We're just going to do a simple Bob Ross cloud by putting white highlights. Starting at the top, working my way down until it fades out. Just building the little puffy shapes. Like this. Put a few clouds in there. Just because I think that'll be fun to have that little detail popping up from behind this giant cloud here. This one, I'm not worrying about the darker edges or the shifting hue. Blue automatically shifts its hue anyway. When you add white, it gets greener. So when you add any color to blue paint, especially if it's this kind of phthalo blue like I'm using, then it tends to go toward green. And a lot of times I don't want that. But when I'm doing atmosphere, where I want the light shining from behind, then it's a nice effect. Okay, we've got little puffs going up like that. Look, I can put negative space in there again. Let's put dark blue now, coming down. Yeah, I get some good contrast in there. Okay, I'll mess with that more later. Let's develop more of the picture. Seeing how dry it is. Just seeing how dry it is. While I'm waiting, I'm going to wait just a couple more minutes, and that'll be the last thing I do on this video is start adding color. And then we'll do another video for the next phase. I won't do any of this off camera. I'll make sure that we just do live show after live show to complete this painting. But for those of you that weren't trying to spend your whole Saturday doing this, I'm gonna shorten this a little bit, and we'll do some color on there, make that the last thing. So it just needs a couple minutes to get a little bit more dry, and then I'll put some color on and we'll continue it in the next video. So while that's drying, I'm gonna do a horizon, not a horizon, just the edge of the difference between a horizon and the edge of the land masses like mountains is that, I think of the horizon as always relative to an object. I'm just taking a look at some of the comments. It's been a while. Yeah, that's funny. I draw McDonald's farm. Okay. Kim Hollowell. Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Please use more white, says Ardell. Okay, okay. I keep seeing shapes of your clouds. All right, cool. Hi from Thailand. Thank you for tuning in from Thailand. Man, I love seeing. So this was just not something possible before, streaming on the web, YouTube. Man, it's really been something. I love it. I see a cowboy riding a dolphin, says Matt. Okay, okay. I'm not needed there. My attention is not needed for those conversations. I totally relate. I can't not see shapes and things. I'm the same way. So now I'm going to do some kind of a mountain range, and I'm going to make a gray violet again for the shadow. Do the shadow first. Now the thing that I know I want to do is more stars. So I'm not going to get too detailed on these mountains. I'm just going to find where I want them to be. But they're going to get flicked with a lot of little specks. So remember I said you can make a quick gray violet with black and red and white. Like this. And what I'm looking for is a color that is still pretty light, to be in the background. I want it to be dark. I want to be able to put darker objects in front of it is my point. So I want to get dark enough to see that contrast of it going up here in front of these clouds. But I don't want to go too dark because then, none of the other objects in the painting, I don't have any room to make them show up by putting dark shadows in the foreground. Something I mentioned in the earlier, smaller version of this picture, the last live stream, was shadows are the big difference makers in depth. Think adding atmosphere, we're adding white to make this look more foggy and far away. Well, the shadows are what are more dramatically affected because the shadows don't have their own light to contribute to the mix that's happening of the light of the object versus the light of the atmosphere. So shadows get dramatically changed. While a light object, like something this color, coming close looks very similar because it has its own light to give to the mix, larger percentage. So it doesn't get dominated as much by whatever you choose for an atmosphere color. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to add a little more black and white to this, or a lot more because that was a big brush load. And to spread it out, watch, I grab there, I go over here, grab there, go over here. I don't just try to spread it like peanut butter on a sandwich. I grab it from there, put it over here. This is faster, more efficient. Evens out your colors too. So we're going to make mountains going up here, and I think it'd be cool to see a high peak coming up like this, going down, something like that. I'm going to put some water on there. I'm basically going to be redoing this edge as I develop the painting more, but right now it's just going to be fun to see a vision. So this technique, it helps me slowly get a nice sharp edge. That's why I'm doing this with the brush. It's just to gradually push that paint there. I just put the bristles right at length and then do this back and forth while it's stuck. Sometimes I forget. It's very unfamiliar to people that are not familiar with slinging a brush. So that's what I'm doing there. And I think I'm going to put snow on these. Wouldn't that be fun to have snow-covered peaks under this? Under the sky. So I'm going to make a nice high peak. Let's go up here. Let's put another one here. And something I didn't do in the last one, I didn't bring like big rock ridges down into the foreground, but I think I'm going to do that on this one. That'll be fun. Mountain there. Let's put another one maybe in here, like this. Maybe a smaller one. We'll avoid the twin peaks. Let's make one of them real dominant. I need more paint. Sometimes even after all these years of slinging paint, I still forget to just add more paint when it starts running low, rather than trying to keep adding water and smearing and blend. I just get so locked into, I like this color, I want this color there more than here, and I start moving it over. I forget, I know how to make that color. I practiced making this so many times. I can just make more of it, put more color on that canvas. You know, it's just instinct to not. This is kind of cool how it's a little bit lighter than this dark sky behind it. That's going to be a fun effect, I think. Let's go like that. Make that come over here, and I like that for now. I like that balance. A little bit off center, higher over here, smaller here. So there's kind of a dominant focal point on this. You know, shapes are an attractive thing. We really recognize shapes, and so I really work hard on trying to figure out what's going to make a shape immediately pleasing when it gets looked at. And it's so much still a trial and error thing for me. But I have learned that, you know, make it about one or the other. Don't make the picture about everything. Make it about, just like the whole picture maybe has a central thing, make it about something. If you make a mountain range and it's not really about the one main peak and they're all pretty equal, you lose everything. You lose on all sides. Okay, now I'm going to scoot over here, look at it from the other way, and maybe bring this down here. I feel like this should just keep dropping. Wouldn't that be cool? Like this, because I want to see lots of sky. That would be fun. And maybe I'll just go a little higher on this side and a little lower on that side. So that means I'm going to need some black in there. So we're going to go like this. No, we're not going to. Yeah, we'll do it. Put some black in here. Put some white. We'll just make a little cloud. I'll put it on thin so it'll dry fast. And I'll tell you a tip too. Something to consider is that once you put that first layer of paint on, it hyperspeeds the drying of everything you put on top until maybe hours later, a day later. If you wait till the next day, your dry time slows down again for a fresh start. But when you first put it on, I mean, when you have just put paint on and it has recently dried, putting paint on top of that is hyper fast dry time because of the chemicals that are made to harden the paint as they get activated. All right, I'm just bringing that horizon down a little bit. I'll add a little black in here to blend it in. Can always put more little dots of stars. Then I'm going to bring this one up. So we made this with red. Now, those of you who tuned in late, I'll let you know where I'm going with this picture. We did a picture in the last live stream, and I had a real rough time with it. This is what we're kind of building the concept off of. This was a great study, good first attempt. And so you can see I'm gradually building a similar picture. But after doing that, I wanted everyone to be able to see better the brush technique. So this can all be done with a small brush, just like I did for that little painting. Same technique, smaller brush. The small brush that I use is very similar in shape. It's one of these guys. And so you can see the angled cut. You can see that it has the flat side and the wide side. I use all the same technique with the little brush. So I started painting murals with this kind of brush, and then when I went to the art store to look into supplies to paint a smaller picture, I saw a brush like that and thought, well, that's what I'm going to use. That's what I know how to do right there. That's it. Put some black in there, a little more white. I'm just remaking the same color. Black, red, white. Put some water on it. And I'm going to go up here, make this a little bit higher. Like that. And let's make some straight edges on there, just like we did. I just want this a little higher so that I really have a dramatic peak in my picture. Real steep walls. Something I mentioned too, as we were fumbling through this the first time, as I was fumbling through this the first time, is that you can do an experiment and see if this is true. I always find that when I'm identifying the slope of something that I want to paint, draw, I always reproduce it steeper than it is. So it'll be like this, I'll reproduce it like this, whether it's waves on water, a mountain outside, the peak of a house, I always go steeper. So it just seems to be, and whenever I have classes, whenever I'm teaching a group, that is the one thing that always happens. So it seems to be some funny little quirk of human nature is to identify that as steeper than it really is. Let's go down right here. Nice continuous slope right down to there. Yeah, I like that. There we go. A couple of peaks. Maybe I'll put a little one behind the big one, like this. There we go. Add some depth to it. I'll put a little bit of snow on them and maybe some atmosphere. Look, I can make that kind of disappear by just putting some white down here. There, now it's a peak behind the other peaks. It's got a little bit of atmosphere, especially if I blend out my brush strokes a little bit, make it look more like soft atmosphere. Bring the dark color up in front of it. Tiny little variation of color value, but it's, creates all this depth information. Okay, time to put some colors on that sky. This is highly experimental for me. I'm gonna take a quick look at comments before I dive deep into this color, because I'm gonna be, totally distracted by my work while I do this. Namaste from India. Thank you, Shivanshi. I'm sorry that I've just really ruined names. I try. I just think it's a fun thing to try. It's funny. I said epitome hoc. I don't know how to spell the word epitome. It's epitome hoc. But thank you for sending that correction to me. I really appreciate being corrected when I do stuff wrong. I don't excel in spelling or reading. Okay. Your ceiling looks real, says Kim Hollowell. Thank you very much. If you want to see the ceiling, I'll show you. I'll show you. For those of you that haven't gone over to that other live stream, this is the ceiling I'm working under. And so you can see my entire process for painting that. Hours of footage over multiple days, and the colors that I used with my cloud ceiling workshop that you can get a hold of at muraljoe.com if you want to see more about that. Okay. Now, let's go over here and get off camera for a little bit. What I need is lots of water to make a transparent layer of color over this. And you'll see that that's going to be real nice and bright, brighter than I could get otherwise. So I'm rinsing my brush in the water, and I'm going to keep going to that water. I'm going to get a couple different brushes ready. What else do I got? I've still got that tiny one. That might be fun for details. I might use this little one. And we'll scrap the big one for now. So that can just come over here by the water bucket. And here's another brush. We'll use this. I want to use a small enough brush that I can push around the shape a little bit. So what I'm thinking is a little bit of magenta. And this is a real good color to this with because it is so transparent and so colorful. It's like painting with Kool-Aid. Okay, I'm going to grab some water and just really load this on. Now, you can't do it for a long time. You got to do it and then get off of it. and just let it dry and come back to it later. But this is where I want to see all the color. I'm going to go to the gray areas to put that color. I noticed as I was studying these galaxy images before I started this morning that you really have lots of color. If you want the look of it just really popping out of the darkness and having depth, then this is a key component, is having color in the darkest clouds. Lots of color in the darkest clouds. And then you can actually, you'll see, it's kind of similar to when we have overexposure, I feel, on a camera. And you see it just washing out to white in the bright spots. Maybe you're looking at a bright red sunset, but on the camera it's just white. So maybe that's what it's similar to that causes that. All I know is that, and it also makes translucency. Lots of color and shadows makes translucency. We get lots of color when light goes through something instead of just bouncing off of it. Lots of color. So if you have color in the shadows, then you get that effect. Got to be careful coming down here because I put that on. I forgot for a moment that I just put that on. So we'll come up here, put some water on. Oh, I can't do too much because that's still a little bit wet. I'm going to put red in that one. Just put a bunch of red on there. Put some color in these shadows. And that's kind of mixing with the white a little bit. And so what I'm going to do is just let it happen because I don't have another choice. I'm going to dab it out a little bit so that it gets softer. But hey, maybe this is going to be a good strategy for getting some interesting texture, is to do this when it's like 80% dry, as opposed to letting it dry all the way. Okay, we got red on there. I'm going to kind of lighten it by just stamping it with my hand. You get nice bright colors this way. Even if your color like this is kind of a gray red now because it mixed with the black and white. So I'm going to rinse it. Yeah, there we go. There, now see how that put color in my shadows? So even though it wasn't what I planned, it still has lots of color in the shadows, so I think it's going to be a good look. And I can always come back and put more stars. So whatever survives the process is what I'll keep. I'm going to do some blue now. Let's put blue. How dry is this? This can take some blue. Let's get water. And let's go up in here and just real quick, spread it out quickly so that I can get smoother blending in a short time. I'm keeping the bristles. I'm not really smashing the bristles hard on the canvas. I'm keeping them like this. So maintaining distance while you're working is something that improves with practice on a picture. I really experienced trouble with just the mechanics of getting the right distance to the canvas and like putting a dot on it or some small detail earlier on in my work. And I've realized as I've done workshops and showed people different techniques that these are just simple mechanics of the motor skills, the muscle memory of using a brush. Nothing too fancy artistry-wise. How about some green? I want to see green in there. I love this color. This is one of my favorites right here. And so I'm going to put it right down in here. How wet is that? Not too wet. Get a little water. Oh, yes. I love that color. Oh man, I just love that against the red too. I'm really going to blend it out. Try to thin it out. I got some of that red down there. Oh yeah, and this is the gray that I put on, isn't it? Let's just smash it with my hand a little. Don't lose too much detail that way. Get a little more of that green and put it maybe up in here. Is this still wet? That's pretty wet still. Up here is not though. Let's go like this. Now when I flick this again with another layer of all those little stars, then I'll have real depth in my stars. You know, I've got the colored stars that drop back into my galaxy scene. Then I'll have bright white stars. Those bright white ones are really going to come forward. Wouldn't it be cool to put a moon in there? I'm going to do that. Not right now, though. Okay, so what color should this one be? Green or blue? I'm going to wait for a comment. I'm going to see what the opinions are out there. Let's go to the bottom. Had to take sandpaper to my canvas yesterday because I tried to blend over half-dried paints. Yes, I relate to that. Man, that's frustrating. Left a ridge where the paint was drier. It's always going to show through. Yeah, done that a million times. You're not alone. Magenta says, Epitome Hawk. Blue, green. All right. All right. Let's see. We're just going to have to go with all of them. I didn't get any universal opinions, so we're going to split it up into multiple colors. Green. Blue. And in the middle, we'll put some magenta. And then I'll just have to kind of repair the edges of my cloud a little bit. Oh, that's the best part of the thing right there. I love that. Just got to put them all together. That magenta turned into a real nice purple when it hit that blue. That's what happened there. Okay. I'm just going to look for real darker, unblended areas in here. Down here, I need a little more color. Let's go. Got kind of a nice cloudy effect going there. And up in here, maybe I just leave that black. I kind of like that. I don't want color everywhere. That's like putting color nowhere if I just put it everywhere. So let's take a look at it. Let's see what's going to improve this, not take away. This is still kind of wet when I touch it, so might have to just wait until next time to get that one. We'll just try the green. It might look really cool. Let's just try a real nice green spot in there. We can always repaint stuff. It's just paint. Yeah, kind of like a real intense splash of color somewhere. I like this line, shapes and lines, you know. I'm all about it. Okay. Let's go over here, do something there. I need a little water on my brush. Let's go right here. Okay. We're going to wrap up this live stream maybe in about another 5 minutes or so. And I'm going to continue this where I leave off today. And the last thing I'm gonna do here is splash a few more clouds or stars, splash a few more stars on that, get more layers, and that'll be nice and dry for next time when I come back to it. And then I can layer some more color on there. It's gonna be fun. It'll be fun to layer white on there too. You know, you can get a really cool effect layering white. And so I'll show you right now. It's dry enough up in here to do that. If I just do a lot of, you know, we've got the white just, I don't have any interesting flowing lines. You know, I always like the sharper little lines that are in these that are combined with the soft lines. And so a way that I can get those with the white, where I only have soft clouds of white, I'm going to put water on the canvas first. Now it's dry enough. And these thin layers dry lightning fast if the layer under them is dry. So all of this is dry in here now. And what I can do is just get the tip of my brush in white. Don't right there, just that tiny little tip. And then I come over in here and maybe just travel along the edges that I see, or just anywhere my imagination wants to go. It's going to soften the edge on one side. I'll go over here to the other side and soften another part of it. And I'm going to get some interesting traveling lines and details where that kind of splits apart. Now, if I just do this trick where I wisp over it a couple times, soften some edges. I didn't love the way those kind of went that way, so I just dabbed that area with the brush. There, now I've got some sharper little details in my picture. You can keep scrubbing it off, laying it on. You know, you get all kinds of little shapes if you do that. I'm gonna do some more in here. Let's do some kind of, it's nice looking at the picture backwards. It makes me think of what I want to do with the composition more. How about some kind of dropping down a little bit from this spot. Water first, little bit of white on the tip of the brush, and then and I can always put color on top of these spots too. They're going to dry real soon. And I can hit those with color, make some fun shapes. Just move it around. You know, it's like playing in the mud. You just stir it around, move it. Sometimes it separates a little bit if it's real thin, and that can be fun because you get some cool texture that way. Do another one. Do another little spot in here. I don't want to go too far because I really like that black going up behind my bright cloud. But it just looked like I could make an interesting line. I always think lines. Every picture of mine, I'm always thinking line as in we find lines, but you know, I said this earlier, I know I'm repeating myself, but we find lines and dots, you know, we find constellations. Here I see a line, see that? Because the dots are close enough together. And so I feel like a picture becomes really interesting when I look for places to make subtle lines, things in a row. That maybe is another way to say that, just making things in a row, but not really obviously. I see a line going like this, coming right down there. And so maybe it will also look good if I just take that little bit of white and add to that line. And so for me, highlighting accenting a picture, not highlighting because we're not trying to do like light and shadow, but just accenting a picture, I think is done well by putting things where there already are things, not finding the empty space and filling it more. So I always look, where is there already something happening? I noticed that the paint was kind of wet under this, so I just dabbing it with my finger. Use whatever you've got, man. Just move that paint around. So I like that. You know, now I've created a line in my picture. And so if you just imagine evenly distributed puffs, I don't feel that like that's as interesting as things that are happening in lines. So I let those lines develop, and then I work them. I work the lines more. Now I really feel like this could use more of my magenta color in it. So I've got that red splotch. I'm going to add some more of that magenta right in this grayer tone right here. So let's get magenta and just load it up in here. Right in there. Magenta and green make a gray blue, so I'm going to end up with a real gray blue color where this magenta comes down and hits this green. And I like it. I like the way it looks when they mix. Put some of that color in there. Now I'm going to be able to do a lot better job with color as this continues to dry. Some of the paint is kind of liquefying as my wet brush hits it, and I'm getting slightly grayish colors. So I'll continue to put more color on when we boot up the next live stream. All right, let's put some. Yeah, I can put red on there, but it's just gonna lift the other stuff off. Let's just try it. You can see a lot of times I'm dabbing, if it feels like, the reason I'm dabbing is because it feels like swiping it is going to just drag the colors through each other. I'm not going to maintain my separate color accents in here. So I'm using dabbing strategically to maintain the separation of the colors. Okay, that's enough color for now. We can add a lot more at any point. And so the very last thing is this. I'm just going to grab some of this light paint and let it soak into the bristles a little bit. We don't want it to be too heavy. I'm going to put that white right where I already have white. Right in there. Come over here. Put some in there. So now I've got layers of different brightnesses of white going. Look, this dripped. There. Glad I caught that while it was still wet. So I think this gives me a lot more depth in the scene if I do the stars multiple times, cover them with color, come back to them again, cover them with color. I'm going to end up repainting the edge of my cloud. Oh well. But you know what else you can do with this fast drying acrylic paint? Here, let's do more. Here, let's just hammer those clouds real quick. Oh yeah, that's cool. Now all the things are just blending together more. See that? I don't want to lose too much detail though. So watch back earlier in this video. If you're tuning into this late and you didn't see this the first time, I went over this technique, this flicking technique. Just rewind to see that. All right. Now it is missing some big ones, but that's the last step, is putting some big bright ones in there. So then what I do to get it off of the cloud is it's probably dry. It is. So I can just come in here and wipe it off. Like this. And then maybe I don't have to do a whole ton of touch up. I've just got a wet rag. Got to get to it quick though, especially if it's real high quality paint. It's going to really stick tightly very quickly. So I got little white spots in here. I bet I could do that same technique. You could try it that I did with making these little tiny squiggles with the brush, just pushing it around with water. I bet I could get all these edges that same way. Be fun to try it, you know, now that these are already in place. Might also be a headache. I'll have to try it and find out. Let's wipe it off of those. I'm just going to repaint that thing anyway. Doesn't matter. But this, you know, I'm saving myself some trouble. Getting it off this that's already really dry. Then all I have to do is a little bit of touch up on the edges maybe. Mountain, I'm going to repaint. That was just mapping it out for me. Oh man, I got to do this just for fun. Last thing, then we're going to shut down. I know it's been a long time. You got the rest of your day to get to, but hey, this is recorded. You're welcome to check out. Welcome to check out. I just got to do one of these little guys. Get some white paint, and here's a bright star. Vertical line, like this, okay? And then you go like this, then go up. Just barely grab the edge with your finger. Okay, now I'm going to do, you know, maybe a lot of you already know this. What determines the number of points on a star is the lens that you're looking at it through. Nothing about the star that generates those twinkles. It's the lens. So on your eye is not polished like a camera lens with different directions. But just like when you see the moon reflecting on the water or the sun reflecting on water, and it makes that long straight reflection all the way up and down the water. That's what's happening on a micro scale across the lens of something to make these lines. So with your eye, they're just going in all kinds of different directions. If you see, I have real blurry vision. When I take off my glasses and I see those little stars everywhere. That's kind of fun. Not necessary information for painting it though. And then you do this. You just go dot in the middle. And then we're just going to kind of dab it out like this around the edges with my finger. Then we put a bright dot right in the middle to finish it off. There. That's how we make twinkly stars in there. Isn't that fun? I'm going to look at it on the camera. Yeah, there we go. So, you know, maybe I need to adjust some of the twinkles. The one going down can't be seen very good. You got to try it. It's fun. But you can always look at, there's another video I made a long time ago of how to make twinkly stars. You can see that video. Just look it up on the channel. All right. I'm going to do a lot of those at the end, but I'm going to hold off for now. That's it for today. And so taking one last look at some of the comments. Love your work and art. Thank you so much, Jeff Wise. That's cool, says Kim. Thank you. Love that star. All right, I did. It's fun effect. You got to try that. It's a really fun thing to do. The blue on the left doesn't feel connected to the sky on the right. I agree. You know what we need? A blue cloud that connects it. Let's do that in the next one. Great teacher as well. Oh, thank you very much, Leslie. And Lean Triple. I saw you were tuned in yesterday too. Thank you very much. Or last time. Thank you very much for the nice comments. Can't wait to show my class, says Tuesday. I'm not going to try to say that. Tuesday. Can't say that username. All right. I'm not going to kill any more of your time. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. And I'll be looking at the comments as this posts on YouTube as well. And so I think that our chat here, I wish the chat got preserved in the comments, you know, because I'd like to go back and look at them. So maybe I could figure out a way to see those. But I'm going to end the stream, and this is going to get uploaded to YouTube. It's going to be available. And so I'll see you in the next one. Get on my email list. If you're not already, you can go to muraljoe.com. I have a MailChimp account that keeps track of all those. And And so I don't send out a lot of emails. You'll get emails just telling you about a next video like this, maybe a workshop, and once in a long while. And so if you want to get notified by email next time we do a live stream, which will just be in the next couple days, then get on that list. I would just be so honored if those of you who haven't subscribed already would subscribe to the YouTube channel. Big help to me. And also, I have many videos for sale on my website. The all video bundle is it's got everything I've made so far. You can take a look at that at muraljoe.com as well. I appreciate you all very much tuning in, and I'll look forward to the next one. I'm eager to make more progress on this picture. I want to put snow on the mountains. I want to put a moon in the sky. I want to put water reflecting these colors. I want to put a guy fly fishing in the water, just like I intended to do with that first little one. Okay, I'm going to end this stream and see you guys next time.